Hello and a very warm welcome to yet another edition of The Real Talk. How have you been and how's your day ending? It is such a pleasure to have you spare time. Please share your thoughts and questions or comments with us as the show goes by using the hashtag The Real Talk. My name is Jackie. We are at Mithus Boutique Hotel. The guest we're having today is an amazing gentleman, a serial diplomat, that is what I call him, but he's also a medical doctor. Let's see who we're hosting on The Real Talk. Dr. Richard Sezibera, Ambassador Doctor, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you for honoring my invitation. I've always looked forward to this opportunity. So thank you for having said yes.
You're welcome. Thank you
Yes.
for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Great. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, I call you a serial diplomat because you've had many years in foreign service, in diplomacy. We will get to that.
That sounds sinister.
Does it?
Serial.
Serial, but you see, it doesn't sound sinister. Maybe if I do some other word after serial, but a serial
Yeah,
diplomat
the one that comes to mind
is
the one who won't say.
That's true. It will
Okay,
be the one who won't say. So
Right.
let's just say serial diplomat.
Serial diplomat. Okay, I will accept it.
Okay, thank you graciously. Yeah,
thank you.
great. You know, you are someone that I have admired for a very long time. I have such great admiration for your work, and I thought in this show today, I want other people that are like me to get to know you more. This Dr. Ambassador Richard Sezibera, where did he come from? Who is he? And, you know, an opportunity for us to dig deeper into your life. Yes. So let's start where it all began. Where were you born? What kind of family were you raised in? How was your childhood? Do you have any memories that you want to share with us?
That's a very long story in its own.
Yes.
Well, I was born in Burundi partly because of the history of this country. My father was killed in 1963. And so I was born a refugee in Burundi, in a place called Ngozi. I then grew up in Uganda with my uncle's family, which is where I did my education, until I came back to Rwanda in 1990 with the Rwanda Patriotic Army.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, you've skipped very many years right there. It would be interesting to know, how did you join the Rwanda Patriotic Army? Tell me about that. The thought process, you know, there's a lot going on in the country and you are in foreign land planning on how to rescue the people that remain at home. But if you can just share a bit of that. And also, you're a student at that time. Do you cut short your education or were you done?
No, I had just graduated.
Okay.
Well, like I said, as you know, this country has gone through turbulent times.
Yeah.
So we ended up as refugees. I ended up in Uganda as a refugee, but I always knew that I was a Rwandan. There was a period in which a number of my colleagues wanted to get Ugandan nationality and become Ugandans, you know, to get ahead in life, in education. But I never felt like I should become a Ugandan. I always thought I should stay Rwandan. And so, although I never knew Rwanda, I had never seen the country, I had never lived here, I always believed myself to be a Rwandan.
And you always knew you would come back someday?
For some reason, I always thought I would find a way back to this country. And then at that time, Uganda was also having political difficulties. Every day we were reminded that we were not Ugandans. But not only were we not Ugandans, we were not desired in Uganda.
And this was obvious. You were shown this.
We were shown that.
Yeah.
By the official Uganda, not the common man or woman. But no. When former President Obote came back to power in Uganda, the persecution of Rwandese became overt. And so even those who did not think they were Rwandans became forced into that awareness that they were Rwandan. And fortunately, the Rwandan Patriotic Front was then organizing in Uganda. And that gave us hope that we would eventually come back to our country. So my colleagues and I joined the movement, and we were young enough to join the army. And when the time for liberation came, we heeded the call. And as they say, the rest is history. Yeah.
How did you feel being part of that historical moment?
Sad that it had to come to that, but happy that we were participating in the liberation of this country. As young people, we did not understand how those who were in power then, could build a whole ideology around hate and discrimination and sectarianism. It didn't make sense to us. And so we were happy to fight them. Yeah. And as I said at the beginning, the RPF had a compelling political vision and strategy and an impressive organizational capacity. So ideology, vision, organization, everything just came into play at the right time for those of us who wanted to come back home.
You know, we're doing 30 years since that time.
Yeah.
When you look back as an individual, are you grateful of how far we've come? Are you satisfied with where we are as a nation and everything that has happened since then?
Yes, I am happy with where Rwanda is now. I have had the opportunity of building a family in this country. My children are now adults, and they've grown up in a land completely different from the one I grew in. They've grown up in a country with a future in which they feel appreciated, which does not discriminate against them. So yes, I can only be grateful that we've been able to grow up in this country and help rebuild it after the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. Yeah.
Indeed, your children have a place to call home. You know, as we're celebrating the liberation, you could tell a lot of people, young people, are thankful, especially those whose parents did not grow up here. They are thankful that they have a place to call home, that identity, which is very important. Do you have any fascinating memories? How many of your family members were you with in Uganda? So your parent, your father had been killed. Were you there with your mom and your siblings?
My father had been killed. My mom lived in Burundi.
Oh, when you went to Uganda, she did not come with
She
you?
didn't come. So I had family in Burundi. I had family in Uganda. I had family in Congo, Zaire then. So I've just come to know them. I got to know them when we came here. And I've been rediscovering. So I've been rediscovering both the country, myself, and my own family.
Wow.
Quite a journey.
Quite a journey.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk about, so you've graduated, you've joined the army, and you've come back home. It would be interesting to know, how did, what was the first thing you did when we had achieved the liberation? Where did your life start? Because for many people, that was a new beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What was the new beginning for you?
So it was quite interesting, actually. In 1994, my unit was on Mount Jali up here. And so we fought on Mount Jali. And then on July 4th, the night of July 3rd, I guess, is when the forces, Habyarimana's forces, were leaving this capital city. And we thought we would be would come into the city and, see what to do. But no, my unit was asked to participate with others in following those withdrawing forces. So we followed them up to Gisenyi and across they went to Zaire. So I actually never entered the capital.
With the rest?
With the rest, no.
Yeah.
I was off in Gisenyi. So I was there for some time, quite happy with the forces. Then I received a message that I was needed
In the city?
in the city. Must have been around after 19th of July, so must have been about 3 weeks after. Because we had the government, they had just been sworn in. I came back and I was asked to be the ADC to the President Bizimungu then. He had just been appointed President of the Republic. And I went to work with him for some months. And then in 1995, I was elected to represent the army in Parliament. At that time, we had a transitional National Assembly. And in the transitional National Assembly, there were 6 representatives of the armed forces. I was one of the 6. So I ended up being in Parliament for 5 years, from 1994 to 1999. Then in 1999, I was appointed ambassador to the US in Washington. Yeah, so my career path was it's been a zigzag, sideways, upwards.
Yes.
From being an MP then to
being an ambassador.
When I finished my tour of duty, I came back and I became the Presidential Special Envoy for the Great Lakes region for a number of years. And then I went to Health as Minister of Health. And then to East Africa as the Secretary General. Yeah. So that in a nutshell was my...
I wonder then, you're a medical doctor.
Yes.
At what point did you get to practice?
Not
if you ever did.
I practiced somewhat
medicine.
After I graduated, I practiced a little bit in Mbuya Military Hospital in Uganda.
For how long?
For a few months.
Okay.
Then I went off to Mbale
Yes.
in Uganda, which is close to the border with Kenya, your country.
Yes, I have relatives in Bali.
In Bali. So I was in Bali for a year. And then I came and practiced medicine within the military because I was a medical doctor.
Oh, yes.
Even within the military. So for 4 years, I practiced my medicine in the bush.
Oh my God.
Yeah, bush medicine. But that was it. So from 94, I have not practiced.
Yes.
Really. Yeah.
How was it practicing medicine in the bush? That is something that we hear a lot, but if you can just share what you are able to share. How is it knowing that you are an active military group? You're in there, you've got some injured people. Sometimes the medicine will not get to you on time. Communication at that time is not as smooth as it is today. How was that experience, and what are some of the challenges you experienced then, and how you overcame them?
It was tough. It was tough because, like you said, we had no supplies. So we had to try and find some supplies. We had no infrastructure, and yet the need was there. So we made do with what we had, like everybody else who was involved in the struggle. We carried out some major surgeries on the ground in the banana plantations, and
Without anesthesia, or would you have
we had basic anesthesia. We managed to get some anesthesia.
Oh.
Yeah. But it was quite tough
That is right.
carrying out operations under fire,
Yes.
sometimes in the dark, on torchlight, you know.
My goodness.
But-
I am picturing that and imagining, as a doctor, your call is to save this life, and then you've got bullets raining in the air. There's very limited light. I can just imagine, how are you feeling at that moment? Did you even lose a patient under those circumstances?
Fewer than I thought we would.
Okay.
Yeah. Our success rate was actually very, very good. Given the
Looking
conditions
at-
under which we are,
Yes.
we had very good success rates. Yeah. But we also treated the local population, the surrounding population. When we were operating in the north,
Yeah.
in the northern part of Rwanda, one part I remember is these were very poor people. And this was an area with recurrent meningitis for some reason. It was part of a meningitis belt. And so we ended up having to vaccinate not only our troops,
Your troops,
but also,
the surrounding
Surrounding.
communities,
yeah,
because they were interacting with
they were
them.
interacting with us. So even though we didn't have enough equipment, not enough medicines, not enough, we shared whatever we had with the local population, which clearly had been abandoned by their own government for a very long time. Yeah. So yes, it was tough practicing medicine under those conditions, but we learned a lot, we did a lot.
Yeah. What would you say? You say you learned a lot. What was the greatest lesson that you learned from that phase of life, that particular phase of your life?
Two things. One was resilience. You could see everybody involved was very resilient. The young men who were with us were extremely resilient. I had an interesting problem because soldiers wanted to escape from our sick base to go back to the front lines before they were fully healed. They were so determined to go and fight that I had to fight sometimes to say, no,
Yeah.
you are not going anywhere,
not
stay
ready.
here, you're not ready. Other armies have the opposite problem. People come running away from
From the front
the
line.
front lines. We had a problem of trying to prevent these young men from going back before they were fully healed.
Such determination.
So they were, yeah. So that was one. The second one I learned was the importance of leadership. After major operations, I would be there in my, what you would call the theater. And all of a sudden, once or twice, I would see President Kagame, who was a commander then, appearing there. He would be there asking, what's happening? What has happened? How are you doing? How are your people? How are these young men doing? Do you have what you need? Yeah? So, to have your leader there all the time,
Yes.
aware of what was going on, solving problems, both major and minor, taught me of the value of
Leadership.
He didn't need to say anything. All of us just learned. Yeah,
Just by seeing him and seeing his actions.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Thank you. We're taking a short break.
yeah.
We're so happy to have you with us on The Real Talk. We are on RTV, but also on our official YouTube channel. Please share that link so that we can have as many people join the conversation. Our guest today is Dr. Richard Sezibera, a diplomat. I said serial diplomat. I said that's a very sinister word, but we will maintain it. It seems to have been a diplomat almost all his life. We will be back in just a bit. My name is Jackie, and we are at Mythos Boutique Hotel. Welcome back to The Real Talk. It is always a pleasure to have you on the show, and it's also my desire that for every conversation you get to watch, you will pick a thing or two. The reason we have The Real Talk is for us to learn from one another. My name is Jackie, and our guest is Dr. Richard Sezibera. I would love us to talk about Richard the diplomat. So your diplomatic career started in Washington, but I want us to come back to the ESC. You being special envoy at the Great Lakes region, but now the ESC. I would love to know how you felt being appointed a diplomat representing our country in the many different places. I would love to know if there's any lesson you learned from that stage of your life. And then when we come to your time as the Secretary General of the East African Community, what was your vision for the community back then? What do you see today? Has that vision been met? Because, you know, you are part of the people that set the foundation. Then we've got many people coming in. We have had other countries joining the community. What is your take on how things are today?
Yes, thank you. So I got into diplomacy I was appointed ambassador. As I said, I was in parliament. I had to first of all figure out what diplomats did.
You had no idea.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I got to Washington, very dynamic place.
That was such a high place to start from.
Yes, and my brief was to try and get investments into Rwanda. Remember, this is 1999. Rwanda is known only for genocide,
yes,
and insecurity. And my brief was try to turn that image and get people to start thinking about Rwanda as a place for potential investment. Quite difficult then.
Yeah, no doubt.
Plus, like all other sectors of our country, diplomacy was also building itself. We didn't have people, means. So it was quite difficult then. But we did what we could. And I spent my time in Washington and came back.
Any achievements from that time? Were you able to bring in investment?
Yes, quite interestingly, a number of the investors that came into this country later on were part of the work we had started doing there.
Oh, yes.
When I was there.
Because you went there to lay the foundation.
Yes, my colleagues who had been there before me and myself, we got, first of all, to try to get the United States to understand what was happening in this country, which we pushed. And then we started reaching out to different sectors in the US, business people, you know, the faith-based communities, the diaspora, the Rwandan diaspora then, which was also divided because of the history in this country, getting them back together to feel Rwandan. So it was quite difficult, but we did our best. And then those who followed us also consistently kept doing. The good thing about Rwandan diplomacy was that the line that we had been given from our capital here, from our leadership, never changed, never wavered.
It never mattered who was the ambassador, which country you were sent to. There was one line.
There was one line. Yeah. So there was one line consistently.
Wow.
And even when it looked like you would not succeed, we just stuck to that line because it was the truth. Yeah. And eventually we were vindicated. Yeah. And that still continues up to today. So I will spend some time in Washington, and then, as I said, I came back and we did peace and security in the Great Lakes. At that time, there were active wars here between Rwanda and Congo, you know. There were wars in Burundi, there were wars in Central African Republic, there was conflict in Angola. Uganda was still had some conflict. It was winding down, but it was still difficult. So this was a difficult time for the region in general. And we got together, all of us, and tried to find a way forward, peace and security. So we did that, and this culminated into the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, which exists today.
Yes,
Up
it's
to
an annual
today.
one.
Yeah. There are a number of protocols and projects and programs that were negotiated, agreed, and should be implemented now. So that was difficult but satisfying. And then eventually, like I said, I ended up in the East African community. Coming to your question, when I was appointed as Secretary General of the community, well, I had been involved in East African integration issues for quite some time on a personal level, because I had always been involved in integration matters, East African and Pan-African issues with some of my other colleagues in the region. So yes, I knew what I wanted to do. But when I was appointed, I reached out to the leaders of this region and listened to them, first of all the presidents. What was their vision? What do they want? And out of these discussions, I decided that I only had 5 years, and therefore I would concentrate on 5 issues to me.
What were the 5 for you?
So the 5 for me were, one was to move the customs union forward, number 1, by turning East Africa into a single customs territory. That included many things, dealing with non-tariff barriers to trade as a priority, So we did that and got East Africa into a single customs territory. Took some time, but we got it done. Number 2 was to deal with the freedom of movement provisions of the common market, because that was delayed. We had a common market, but people were not allowed to move freely within East Africa. And it didn't make sense to me that you could have goods moving, but prevent people from moving. So we worked hard on getting, simple things like getting interstate passes operational, moving, getting countries to agree that people can move using their own national identity cards, getting the East African passport. So the free movement of people provisions of the common market was a second priority for me. The third priority was to start and complete negotiations on a monetary union protocol. Yeah, so I wanted a monetary union, which we did.
We're here to
we agreed on a protocol. Now we have to implement it, which we were supposed to be having a single currency 2024 this year. At the time we were negotiating the protocol, so I don't know how far we are. But we have the aspiration, we know how to do it. The question is, can it get done in time? But that was my third priority.
I'll just cut you short there.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what is stopping it from happening? Because you say we know what to do. What then is stalling us? Especially on that third point.
I can't speak to the monetary union specifically, but I know my experience has been that what stalls integration has always been the politics around integration. From the leaders to the bureaucrats to even the private sector. I used to deal with the private sector and say, you see, everybody wants to become East African. on the one hand, but then they reason national. They reason nationally. Yeah. So when you go to a meeting and you want to do something East African, people will say, no, but what is it in?
What is there for me as Rwanda, for me as Kenya? Yes.
As a Ugandan. Yeah. Even business people would go there, and you would find them fighting for their own
interests, national
interests, pushing their countries to protect their own industries and things like that. So that has always been the challenge.
Yeah.
And then of course you find the leaders some leaders who think very national, and they do not think East African or African.
We still have such leaders.
Yeah, so that has always been the challenge. I suspect.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I suspect this is what is happening.
Yeah. We go to number 4.
So number 4 for me was infrastructure.
Yes.
Because you can't have integration without integrating infrastructure. And so we started infrastructure summits. I started summits dedicated to heads of state level, dedicated to just infrastructure, rail, roads, waterways.
Wow.
And that still continues. I think the road system we did quite a lot. We started with the standard gauge railway. For the first time since independence, East Africans started laying rail. It was quite a shame for me to realize that from the 1960s, when the whites had built the Kenya-Uganda railway, it was sad to realize that rail lines left by some of our colonial masters, since they left, we had not laid a single kilometer of additional rail, but instead people were uprooting.
So true.
Yeah, rails in Kenya, in Uganda. That was shameful. And so, because of this re-emphasis on infrastructure, countries began laying rail lines again. Kenya did, you know it, from Mombasa to
Nairobi and beyond.
It's supposed to come here and go to Burundi and eventually end up in Eastern Congo. Hopefully it will be. So yes, infrastructure. That was a priority which I think is still continuing.
Yeah, at least there's a lot of progress made.
Yeah.
Number 5?
Energy.
Energy.
Yeah. So as part of infrastructure.
As part of infrastructure, yes. Okay.
Yes. Number 5 was the difficult one for me, which was, we had been talking, East Africa wants to have a political federation. But for a long time, this was something in the air. What is this animal? Federation. And I wanted us to have clarity on what we wanted as East Africans. Okay, we want to have a political federation, but what kind? And so we put in a lot of effort in that, and we got clarity. Finally, the leaders agreed that what East Africans were aiming for was a confederation, which means you are one country, yes, but the center is a loose coordinator of national issues. So yes, countries still stay as they are, but then you get together a few common programs that you manage from the center, a confederation. So
that's the difference between federation and confederation.
Yes.
So the countries remain.
Countries remain.
Yes, but there's the center.
There's a center where you manage critical issues, so foreign policy as an example, or security. Yeah, but you leave matters of agriculture or education or health, or some of those matters you leave for the countries within the confederation.
So meaning that there wouldn't be a point where ESC would have a president, one president for the community. Was that just a mere rumor or what?
No, you might have a president, but what are the responsibilities of that president?
Okay.
So, but we agreed that it would be a confederation. Now the next stage is to have a constitution for that confederation, and then East Africans will agree, will decide on the basis of a document, a written document, which when I left, this was the process that was beginning. I'm sure they've gone far. Now I'm waiting for that document to see it, because there was a team we want to see. Then you and I will discuss what kind of federation we want to see.
I'm wondering, when you leave, when your term ends as the Secretary General, do you in any way remain involved in matters of the community, or is it time up for you and the next person that comes in lays out their own plan and they work in their own way?
Well, there is no formal role, so to say, but your successors can reach out to you. I reached out to my predecessors when I was Secretary General. I formed a group that would be of advisory to me at that time. So former Secretaries General, former Speakers of Parliament, and so on and so forth. Yeah. But it's all dependent on
the office bearer.
On the office bearer.
Yeah.
There is nothing written.
Okay, but this is the
It's what you do.
direction to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, wonderful. I would like us to talk about your health. In 2019, you fell ill.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can talk to us a bit about that. What happened?
Well, in 2019, I got a stroke. I was at work. Normal work day. Went home for lunch and got a stroke.
Did you have any prior signs? Were you a healthy man just going on about your business without any pains, nothing?
I was healthy. I was okay. I didn't have any warning signs. I was a sports person. So I was doing my work, playing my tennis, normal.
You aren't even overweight.
Not really. I was a bit heavier than I wanted to be, but I wasn't overweight as such. But I got this stroke, which I've recovered from. I was lucky to get excellent health care. I recovered from it. It takes time to recover. I'm still recovering from it, but yeah. So that's what happened.
Yeah. Did you find out what the cause was?
Yes, I know what the cause was. I got a clot in one of my vessels. So I got a small clot. Yeah.
No, we thank God that
which they
you're in
dealt
good
with,
shape.
the doctors dealt with it.
Yeah. From your medical experience, this is good progress where you are today?
Yeah, it's very good progress. Yeah.
And do you see yourself getting fully back to your health?
I am working at it. Yes. I'm working at it. But I'm also not a very young man, as you can see, so.
It might take a while, huh?
Yeah.
What else?
If I had been in my 20s,
yes,
then I would probably have recovered much faster than I have now.
Yeah. What are those life changes that you have had? But first, for how long were you immobile? For how long did the stroke last, and how long did it take for you to be able to talk well and at least walk?
Well, I was in a wheelchair for about 3 months, and then I started recovering my faculties. But I was not, my speech was not affected, fortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. How's your family, and what would you say about the kind of support that they've given you? And you know, that sudden change, I can imagine it must have had a toll on the family, coming from a place where you have daddy, husband, normal today, and tomorrow you have to take care of him intensely.
Yeah,
what did that mean to the family?
The family, it was a challenge for the family, but they've been very helpful. They stayed very close to me, my wife, my children. I received very good support from the government, from the president, the government, and so I got, like I said, I got excellent health care, both inside Rwanda and outside of Rwanda. And then my family was also very supportive. So yeah, it's been a challenging time, but also I'm happy with the way we've handled it.
Any lessons that you have learned?
Well,
you know, we take life for granted, and
yeah.
a lot of things. You know, today you're able to walk, tomorrow you're not able to walk. I just wonder, have you pondered, sat down and thought, my goodness, this has taught me this?
I think it's reinforced many of the lessons I had learned before. One, the importance of country, importance of God, country, family. Yeah?
God, country, family.
God, country, family. I think those are lessons I had learned before, but these have been
Reinforced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what is keeping you busy now? Do you still have any positions, public positions that you hold? Do you see yourself going back to diplomacy when you're fully recovered? I wonder, or is that career path almost done?
No, I've been concentrating on healing. It's a full-time job recovering from a stroke. Yeah. Once in a while I do work with the Commonwealth. They ask me to be their special envoy for health and education. So once in a while I do work with them. I do some writing. But really I've been concentrating on getting
healing.
better, yeah, on healing.
Yes, you're saying it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, before I look at 6 Qs, those will be quick questions. Is there anything you feel I have left out in this conversation that we have had? Is there a question you wished I asked and I didn't ask?
Not really. We've been talking, you've been trying to get me to summarize 60 years in 1 hour, so that's
Did I do well?
yeah, I think you've done well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's have a look at Dr. Sezibera's 6 Qs. Let's have a look at Dr. Sezibera's 6 Qs. Ambassador, doctor, all these important titles. What is the best life advice that you have received, Dr. Sezibera?
I think the best life advice that I've received is to always be true to yourself. Yeah? Be true to yourself. So I've tried to live by that, to be true to myself. You know? I think it's Shakespeare who said, be true to yourself, and it will follow as night follows day, that you cannot be false to any other person.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what I've tried to live by.
That's important.
Yeah.
And what is the hardest part about being a diplomat?
Being true to yourself and also to the truth. Yeah? Because sometimes in diplomacy, people get tempted to compromise principles for political diplomatic reasons. But being a diplomat, a Rwandan diplomat, means you have to stick to the truth. And that truth is sometimes very bitter to those you're interacting with. Yeah, so that was difficult. But like I said, eventually, you get vindicated if you stick
to it.
To the truth. It has to be the truth, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What word best describes you? One single word that describes you as Richard?
I don't know. Yeah.
Honest, truthful, resilient, determined, warm, friendly, receptive. Oh my goodness.
I would say resilient. I'm picking from your repertoire. Resilient.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets in life?
No. If I had to relive it, I would still do what I've done in life.
Same life, everything. Nothing to change, nothing missed.
Nothing.
Wow.
I'm satisfied with life.
You've lived a good life.
Really? It's a satisfying life.
Yeah, a satisfying life.
Yeah.
That's important, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's relative, really, yeah. Everyone has their own definition of satisfied.
Correct.
And then when you look back at your life, what do you know now that you wish you knew many years ago?
Now I know how to accept people for who they are. The bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. When I was much younger, I was selective about the people I accepted. Now I've learned that everybody is potentially good. Yeah. Even those you don't think are good. So I've learned to see the good in everybody. That has come with time. I wish I had been born with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should have helped you a lot.
I think so.
And lastly, what advice would you give to your younger self, Richard, at 20 years old?
Work hard, stay true to yourself, keep your friends, and make more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Keep your friends and make more.
Correct.
I think one day I'll call you back here to give us a lesson on making those friends and keeping them.
Keeping more?
Yes, because we have a tendency of having friends who are not necessarily friends. So probably we need lessons from experienced people like you on how to identify those attributes that we want or we need in a friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Good.
My goodness, this has been a great conversation, one that I always looked forward to, and I do hope that you have learned a lesson from this. I think I picked something that Dr. Sezibera said. It's important to accept people for who they are, the good, the ugly, the bad. It's important to identify people, such things in people, and accept them for who they are. It's something he wishes he knew when he was young. So you who's young and watching, probably it's a life lesson for you to learn. Share with us your thoughts. The hashtag is The Real Talk. My name is Jackie Lumbasi. Always a pleasure to have your company. Our guest today was Dr. Richard Sezibera, a medical doctor, a soldier. They call once a soldier, always a soldier. Once an ambassador, once a diplomat. Always a diplomat. Is a man who's worn very many hats, and I do hope that we will be able to have him back again in future. You take care. God bless you.